Hi, I'm Debbie Maddy with Tiori Designs, and I'm here in the Moda pop-up studio at Quilt Market, and I'm going to show you my new book, the different techniques that I use to do my Shibori and indigo dyeing. So let's get started. My new book is called Discover Shibori, and it has instructions and illustrations and photographs in here to show you everything from how to set or make an indigo vat, and then all kinds of different techniques for the Shibori. Shibori means squeeze in Japanese, and what you're doing with Shibori and indigo is you are squeezing the fabric to resist the blue dye, and that's how you get the different designs. So I'm just going to show you a few of the techniques here. One of them, I take fabric and I put little dots all the way across, and they are spaced at where they're even, and then I stitch through the dots, and you can see my stitching here, where I'm going down and up and down and up all the way across, and each row is exactly the same. And then when I pull this stitching up, you can see little pleats forming, and you just kind of pull it a little bit and you get the little pleats. When you have all of your tiny little pleats, which is what this is, then I wrapped string around several areas on this piece of fabric. It started out white, and this is what you get. After you've dyed it, this was probably dyed about 8 times. With indigo, the color is not dependent on how long you leave it in the vat, it's how many times you dip it. And this was dipped about 8 times, so it's a really dark, deep indigo blue. But those little designs that are on there is what you're striving for. I have another design here. I have a template for this design, but the book has exactly how you can mark the fabric and start your stitching. And you have to stitch this a certain way, but it's in the book. You start with your knot on top with one row, your knot on the bottom, the next row, and as you stitch it and pull it up, then you get these little pleats like this forming, and that's what you come out with in the end. You can use the same design, but just do random stitching, and then you have a totally different design. So those are a couple of the stitched design. I'll show you some more in just a minute, but let me show you a simple fold technique. So this fabric was folded into an equilateral triangle, and I put a pointed acrylic piece on both sides, and then whenever I finish dyeing it, and when I'm dyeing it, I just kind of do this with those points, and then when I finish dyeing it and I open it out and take that off, then I have beautiful stars. This one is a little bit different. It's the same triangle. The book actually has 5 different special folds that you do, and you have to fold your fabric a certain way for the indigo to be able to get into those folds. But this is that same equilateral triangle, and then I put like popsicle stick on each side really tight, and so when this one is opened out, you end up with more this design. So no matter what you do, when you open it out, you're going to have repeats of everything. This is just a simple square fold, but after I had it folded, I put a circle on both sides, clamped it down. I have a template that is a point, I clamped that down, and this was another point. So when this one is opened out, since you put multiple things on that square, you have multiple designs. You can get a beautiful, beautiful design for maybe a scarf. This is a neckerchief. You can do this on a piece of fabric and make a beautiful blouse or dress out of it. But what I do is I take the fabric and I have it all laid out flat. I start in one corner and I use the ikat tape. You can use cording or rope, anything that you can wrap around, and you just wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap until all you have is something little hanging out. Unless you want a large blue area, on one end. Then you would leave a lot of the fabric hanging out. After it's all wrapped, you pick it up, you squish it down and tie it really tightly, and then you end up with this design. And that's called honeycomb. And it is probably the easiest technique in my book, and it is one of my favorites. Another way that you can do things is I take fabric, a scarf, a large piece of fabric. You could do bandanas, anything you want, but you wet your fabric, you lay it out flat, and then you start squishing it up like this. You fold it into a circle, and I stick it way down really tight into a mesh produce bag. Then it's dyed. If you want a lot of blue, you squeeze it while it's underneath the water. If you want a lot of white, then you don't. But after it's dyed, you take that apart, and this is what you have. So if you're doing this for quilting, this is a great background fabric. Let me just show you a couple of more things. This one is a piece of fabric that there is a stitch design, and in the book there's a QR code, and you snap that QR code with your phone camera, and it takes you to another website where you can print this design out, and it has it to scale, and it tells you exactly how to stitch it, and it, you know, all gets compressed up. But after you open it out, then this is the design. This one is what quilters call a half square triangle fold, and it's accordion folded, but after it's all folded, then I scrunched it up like this, and then I took thread, and you can see my thread where I wrapped it really tightly, just all the way from here to here, left the corners hanging out. And after it's dyed, then you get this beautiful design. What I've got back here, this is called a mandala fold, and it is in the book, and whatever you do on that fold, you're gonna have a repeat of 16 times. This one, I folded into a really large square. After I had the square, so this whole scarf was down to a square, I put a large circle on both sides. I dyed it about 6 or 7 times. Then I carefully removed those circles and put smaller circles. And then I dyed it another time or two. And that's how you get that halo effect. Some of the techniques in the book take a little more time. Some of them are extremely fast and easy to do. You can start out, make your indigo vat. You can choose 3 different vats from the book. They're all natural. You can dispose of them easily. There's nothing there that's going to hurt you or hurt anybody. And then you get your vat going, you do a little practice. I tell you how to check the vat, and then you start to play. And if you've got wood pieces, acrylic pieces, you got you some C clamps or some spring clamps, raid the toolbox and see what you've got there, or just go to the hardware store and have a good time. And you can end up with absolutely stunning fabrics. I think that's about all I have time to show you today, but if you get the book, then you can go to town having fun. Let's get started at your house on doing shibori and indigo dye. Thank you.